then we ended up deciding to work together in this way, to collaborate and to share and to bring our insights to a different audience or in a different way, because I've been mainly writing articles and books, and Errol has obviously been doing courses and all kinds of things around the world. So it's like a merging of two different worlds in a sense. So
Yeah.
it's been good to experience this and to share the screen with Errol.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. This has been an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing
This okay with stop screens now. I'm leading this call,
There we go.
folks, I think.
It's an amazing opportunity to be able to sort of share. And in the years that I've been involved in intuitive work, energy work, mainstream therapy, this is a beautiful platform, and it's so wonderful that it's here in our fingertips. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this evening. And as I said before, our topic today is the soul's purpose, and we have some amazing questions and amazing steps that we would really like to share. And first of all, I'd just like to put it out there. I mean, to people that are viewing and watching, what do you feel that your soul's purpose is? What is your soul's purpose? There could be so many different interpretations. For some people, your soul's purpose is just simply being here. Just simply breathing and being here is your soul's purpose. To others, it's about doing something and accomplishing something. For others, it's about being in service. For others, it's about helping the earth come back to its natural sort of harmony and balance. And for others, it's about going into a cave and meditating and connecting to God. And for others, it's just helping as many people as you possibly can in one lifetime. There's so many people, so many interpretations of soul's purpose, and they're all valid. They're all valid because ultimately it's going to come from within. Whatever that call is, it's going to come from within. What do you say, Oliver?
Yeah, absolutely. There's not one answer or one thing that we should all be doing, because that would be very boring, and again, that would come from outside. And as you've just said, it's got to come from within, because how could it come from outside? If it's coming from outside, then it's come from someone else. And how does someone else know what someone else really needs to be doing? I mean, sure, if you're a parent and you know when a child's got to go to sleep and things like that, but that's obviously something different. When we become an adult, then it has to come from within. It can't come from without. There can be guidance and ideas and inspiration, but to truly connect, it cannot be provided already pre-packaged by society.
Yeah, and predominantly that's exactly what's going on, though, isn't it? The education system is geared in such a way to give certain information or to fill the sponge that is a child in a certain way in order to gear them into higher education, which costs us money, puts them in debt. It's quite the start for someone going into their adult life already in debt. It sort of sets the tone. But we won't go into sort of all of that in conspiracy.
I think that would be another call.
That'll be another call. Listing all the conspiracies of the world. But yeah, it really is about tuning into your heart and your soul, and finding what is begging to be expressed. What is there? What is the fire there that's yearning to be stoked, that fire that wants to sort of reach others. You know, there's this fire burning in there, and it has a desire to go and give its warmth and its flame to others. And what is that flame? What is that fire? And how can you express it in such a way, or share it in such a way that it ignites other people's fires too, you know? And this is the whole thing. It's a beautiful thing to know what your soul's purpose is. It's a frustrating thing to not, especially when you're in a 9 to 5. You know, when you're really so far into the matrix, so plugged in on every level, down to your monthly, you know, travel pass and your monthly mobile phone and all the other monthly things that you're just so plugged in on so many levels that you just suddenly feel that you can't plug away from this. Therefore, you're sort of stuck in this, and it kind of decreases your thoughts or your abilities to suddenly think, I just need to stop this and move on, because you simply can't in that moment, because you owe this and you owe that, and you just plugged in. It's set up in such an amazing way, just to keep you where you're at. And without all of that, without the plugging in, wow, you know, there's just so much out there, you know. And it's the conditioning that makes people feel that they can't do this or can't do that, because it's so heavily based on needing a qualification for this, or certificate for this, or diploma for this, or so many different things, that it kind of stops people in their tracks and makes them think, well, who am I can't do this because I don't have a certificate, I've not trained up, or whatever it is, you know. Never mind that, you know, you've got people, you know, giving birth to to children, and people becoming parents. But, you know, there's no certificates or diplomas in that. It's just happening, you know. And that's one of, if anything, that's one of the most diverse and complex jobs there are, you know, to be a parent. And yet there's no certification or diploma on that. And yet, you know, to become a teacher, or to become all these other things, we've got all these different layers and levels of training and certification. It's just, you know, when you think about it, a couple of guys many years ago decided to build a plane, jump in it, and let it take off. You know, these brothers went up, they got into a plane, and they took off, and they went into the air, and they did it, right? Did they have a pilot license? Did they have okay from ground control? Did they check that they could go into the air, and was it okay? And no, they just did it. They just did it because there was a passion and a drive, you know. And they did it the right way, with the right motivations, the right intentions, you know. And this is the thing with the soul's purpose: you just go and do it, as long as it's not harming people, as long as your integrity is there. There's authenticity. There's humbleness. There's a willingness to share and you know, really share, really, you know, uplift others and make other people's lives amazing. This is where it's at. You know, this is where it's at. This is what makes your fire grow. And this is the fire that wants to warm other people's hearts and to ignite their hearts, you know. The soul's purpose is different for every person, but it's so important. Without it, you're just paying your monthly travel bill, and your phone bill, and your gas bill, and all the other bills you got going on, and you got your roof over your head, and you've got a 9 to 5, 5 days a week, maybe half day, 1 day for overtime, and there you are. And that really isn't who you are. You know? Especially if it's not what you want to do, especially if it's not in the arena or the realm, or even sort of like in the sort of area of work that you just don't feel inspired by. This is something that just will essentially kill or diminish your passion, you know. Yeah. Ultimately, it's important. What do you feel there, Oliver?
Yeah, big time. And you said about the Wright brothers who obviously got the plane up in the air. And these two brothers are actually my friend has spoken about them a number of times, and it appears to come down to, as you were saying there, just this belief in themselves and what they're doing, and the drive not to give up. So it's not like they can necessarily uh, they completely concede that it
Yeah,
can be done. It's not like they can it's done and they can completely understand how they're going to do it, but they've just got the belief and they don't give up. So through having that perseverance, that doggedness, and keeping at it, then over time more just appears, and then before they know it, then it's reality and it's actually in the air and they've flown,
yeah,
and it's incredible. But as you said, with the going through the motions, I think that's the saying that came to my mind when you're speaking about that. It's just, oh, just going through the motions, nothing is really fulfilling. But it's it's the case of being so entrenched, start being so entrenched in a relationship. It's not healthy. But there's so many attachments, like children, or got to pay for the car, got to pay for the TV, all these attachments there, and then it's not. Then it can be very hard then to move away. But it's obviously a gradual process, step by step, one foot after the other, and then gradually progress will be made. And I think the trouble arises when there's a need for everything to happen straight away, and then it's too much, because it seems like someone is here and they want to get way over here, and it's just, oh, how am I going to do that? Well, it's just, as they say, how do you eat an elephant?
yeah,
One mouthful at a time.
yeah. Very slowly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so we'd like to share some insights and practical things you could do right now to start aligning yourself to your soul's purpose. I mean, obviously, ultimately, the first and foremost, there needs to be an intention to set up a dialogue with your soul, and to understand that you are not separate from your soul. Your soul is residing in you. It's you. You are essentially experiencing this life through this astronaut suit that you're wearing, but behind the whole thing is the soul. Without it, without their soul being alive, this essence being alive, the suit's just gonna flop to the floor. So ultimately, you've got to realize that it's not this sort of separate thing or disconnected thing that you've got to sort of look outward to in order to attain. It's already in you. This is the craziest thing. This is the absolute craziest thing, to understand that that power, that connection is already within you. So we'd like to give some insights today into finding out what your soul's purpose is, and it's I'm going to give you one here. I mean, it's as easy as focusing on and finding out what it is that you're excited or passionate about doing. Really doing. And sometimes you may not know because you haven't been passionate or excited for a long time, and maybe you just need to delve into the past, into the child, into the you as a child, and remember what it was that made you really excited, and follow that. With my own personal experience, there's a period in my life when I was I think about 10 years old, and we had moved to Cyprus, and we were living in the capital. It's the Nicosia, which is the last divided capital in the world. Has a line right through it, banks back in the center. And I remember being there at 10 years old, and we'd just emigrated, and we brought over a whole sort of truck, a big lorry with all our belongings. And in that truck was my BMX, this lovely bike. And I remember I was just fanatic about riding this bike everywhere, through all the old back streets of Nicosia, like every single one. And so, half of Nicosia being on the side that I was living on, side of Cyprus that I was living on, I basically learned it like the back of my hand. I was riding in and out with this BMX, doing sort of jumps and bunny hops and wheelies and all sorts of things with it. And that passion is still there. And I'm in the same land right now. I'm in Cyprus right now, and that passion is so much still there that I find myself yearning and longing to actually get in the car and drive around the same streets. I just drive around the same streets and I feel so happy. I'm looking forward to perhaps maybe owning a couple of properties over there and sort of converting them and doing them up into like how they used to be hundreds of years ago. But there's a passion there. Just follow it. There's a famous saying: "Follow your bliss, and doors will open where there were once only walls." And this quote was by Joseph Campbell, otherwise known as I call him my uncle, even though we're not related. But Uncle Joe has many quotes. This one I really love. Follow your bliss, and doors will open where there were once only walls. And that's because suddenly, when you're in your bliss and you're really feeling alive, things start happening. Things begin aligning to you. It's like you get onto a different track in life. It's the same path, but it's just different quality track, and things start coming together. You meet the right people. You're at the right place at the right time, and it can be as simple as following something that you were just quite passionate about as a child. And for me, riding around on my BMX and doing bunny hops and wheelies and jumps and stuff like that, I'm still doing it now. Many years later, a few decades later, I'm in my car, driving around all these old streets and just feeling that feeling, and it makes me feel good, so good. And who knows where that would lead to? You just don't know where it would lead to. You just don't know what the opportunities are there, because once you're in there and you're in that flow, in that stream, things start happening. You meet the right people, you're in the right place at the right time, and it's just about following your bliss, and doors will open. They will just open. So one of the things is to feel or think or remember what it is that really drives you and makes you happy. This is very important. I feel, Oliver, it's an important part of the journey to activating or aligning yourself to your soul's
I
purpose.
just wanted to touch upon what you said there about once you align with that, and then you meet the right people and things like that. I mean, it was just a case of when I said in a call, I think the last one, when I was going to do a course and it didn't happen, but I got the inspiration to start writing these more personal articles. And then I got the idea to send you an email, and then from that we've just kind of ended up here. And it's just like, where did that come from? But I felt this kind of calling, this need to do it, and then kind of out of nowhere, kind of everything else has come together. But in terms of, and I think that shows just how seamless this can all work. But what you said about the finding our passions, and I think this is a thing. I mean, when we're younger, we might have enjoyed doing things, but we might have been told you can't do that, don't do that, it's dangerous, or whatever it was. And then we can get older and we can forget about that. And if we look back and we can get in touch with what we really used to enjoy doing, it doesn't mean it's going to be exactly the same with you now. Obviously, you're driving instead of going on your bike, by the sounds of things, but it can take on like a different form, a different shape. Could be to do with art or something like that, how enjoying painting and building things, and then getting older, and that can form part of something else, or it can just be something we enjoy doing as a hobby and can bring us incredible fulfillment and meaning and give us a real reason to live. Just something small can then expand, and who knows where it might lead. It can lead, I enjoy doing this, I might try that, I might do this then. So it can really just explode once we just tap into that one part of it.
I mean, absolutely, and it's really is about listening as well, even in the form of sort of like a pain coming up or a sadness coming up, or just sort of tuning into to the sort of what's happening within us. I remember a few years back, a dear friend of mine passed away. She very suddenly, very suddenly, she was diagnosed with an illness, and within 7 weeks she was gone. And she was an amazing singer. She sung kirtan mantras and played the harmonium, this beautiful instrument. And it really affected me, that her passing, because it was so sudden, and she did so much good in the world, and involved so heavily in charities and sharing, and and just this bright star, bright beam, light beam, and suddenly she was gone, and it did something to me. So even our pain can be a message from the soul, from the beyond, to look at something. And and I'd just like to share this. What happened was, within a month or so, I was running a retreat in Bali, and a mutual friend of mine would be, putting posts up about her cacao ceremony. She'd be like leading cacao ceremonies, and she had a friend that I'd sort of got on Facebook, but I'd never met her, and I saw that she was actually in Bali. So I reached out to her and said, "Hey, I'm running a retreat. I've never experienced a cacao ceremony. Would you like to come onto my retreat as a guest? Because I've got a slot, because I have guest speakers and guest teachers on my retreats." And I had a slot, and I said, "Look, would you like to come and do a cacao ceremony?" She did. She came on, and my life changed. She did this cacao ceremony. We hijacked her. We kidnapped her. We brought her onto the rest of the retreat. None of us wanted to let her go. So she came onto the rest of the retreat, which is an amazing soul. I class her as one of my very, very dearest and closest friends, even to today. And so she introduced me to the cacao. And suddenly, I was following this feeling. I got some cacao blocks from Guatemala, and I started doing cacao quite a lot. And I found myself in Barcelona, and I found myself with a vocal teacher and a harmonium player. And suddenly this lady was coming 2 or 3 times a week in Barcelona to my apartment with a harmonium and sort of teaching me to sing sort of mantras. And suddenly, just in the space of a few months from my friend's death, I was putting together this energy of creating cacao ceremonies with mantra and kirtan and harmonium. And suddenly there I was, within I think 5 or 6 months of this, I actually led my first cacao ceremony in Liverpool. For about 25 people attended. And here I was on a harmonium singing, and it's my passion. I've been singing since I was a child. I love singing, absolutely love singing. And so through a death of a dear friend, and then a introduction to a new friend, something happened, and it ignited, it created a space for me to suddenly hold space, which is one of my passions, hold space for people, sing, and hold space for people to sing as well and express themselves. Delve into the realms of cacao, which is a beautiful plant medicine that opens up the heart, and delve into the energy of mantra, which makes the bridge between the heart and the soul. So cacao opens up the heart, and mantra opens up the bridge from the heart to the soul. And here we are for 3.5, 4 hours, mantra, really chanting mantra, being in the energy and the spirit of cacao. And this all just came about from just listening, whether it was to listening to my sadness and grief of my friend, or whether it was listening to opportunities arising when I saw that a mutual friend was in Bali, and I reached out and said, "Come and do a cacao ceremony." It's just being in flow. What is a soul's purpose? Is being in flow. You just don't know what opportunities are going to arise, and out of those opportunities, how those opportunities can get you into a space of expressing the very things that you loved doing as a child, singing, sharing. And suddenly here I was, and I still do cacao ceremonies to this day. I love doing it. I love holding them. It's something I'm very passionate about, Who wouldn't be? It's pure chocolate. Gets you high, gets you into a very different realm. And the fact that we go into meditation and all these things. So what I'm saying is, even through a negative or what seemed to be a negative story, like someone passing, it can also be an opportunity, where your soul's talking to you.
Yeah, big time. And I think this kind of this basically flies in the face of the usual advice, or the quite common advice of being happy, being positive, and everything else. And it's like, if someone has not got that connection to themselves, what they want to do, they're unsure. As you're saying, it can be very beneficial for them to look at
Mm.
what is causing them pain, and if they're out of touch with their body, to see what the block is there. Why is there that barrier? Because you're saying about your friend, um, the loss of your friend, it kind of reminds me of when my father passed on, and it was when he passed on shortly after. Around that time, a lot of my pain came up, and it's like, around that point, not only did I get a deeper understanding of myself, it also allowed me to share information with more depth, to give more, to have a far greater understanding of what I was actually sharing before. But it was a lot more powerful. It's coming from a lot more a truer place within me, and that was through me embracing the pain. I mean, so much of my work is a result of me embracing my pain. So, and I think this is what it comes down to, this whole aspect of facing the parts of ourselves that can be very easy to avoid, to go for something more pleasurable and to feel good, and everything else. So more higher up, more in our head, but going into our body can be very painful. But it's often where all the guidance, everything can be found in the body. That's where the real
Yeah.
stuff, the real meat is. In our head is more conditioning, what we've been told, and you should do this because that's going to pay the bills, or what if you do that, what will people think, and all that kind of chatter, all those beliefs there. But once we can get underneath that, into the body, and then we can see, what really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is about what really matters. And sometimes we're inspired. I remember by chance, I think someone dragged me along to this meditation day. It was in um, Violet Hill Studios in North London. And I remember having resistance to go, but I just thought, oh, okay, I'll go along with it. My friend's quite convincing. I'll go along with it. And it was like this boot camp of meditation. We were there, we were all breathing really heavy, like through each chakra, and we were like chanting, and it was honestly, it was like a boot camp. 3 hours we went for, and afterwards I just thought, oh my god, this is phenomenal. This group energy, and it just inspired me. Like, wow, this is phenomenal. And I decided that there and then that I was going to lead meditation. I didn't want to copy exactly what she's doing. I had my own things, my own sort of inspirations and sort of things that I wanted to do. But it really inspired me. I mean, and that was from someone that wanted me to come along, and me resisting it, and then thinking, "Wow, this is amazing!" While I was in there, and why I'm sharing this particular story is that um, part of your soul's purpose, or following your soul's purpose, is doing something that you would do even if you weren't getting paid, even if there was no money involved, even though there was no sort of like exchange. You just love doing it, and you really want to do it. And this was one of those moments that I just really wanted to do. I really wanted to hold a circle because the energy is phenomenal. So I happened across a little room in Bloomsbury near Holborn, and this room was rented by a lovely man. I think his name's Vaz, and he was running I think it's a London College of Spirituality. He was running from this little room, and somehow I managed to get in touch with him. I can't remember how. And I went over to meet him, and I said, "Listen, I'd like to run meditation evenings. Can I use this room? And so we met, and he said, okay. And he said, okay, this room is like so much, and £40, whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was. And here's me thinking, oh God, £40. If I charge £10, then all I need is 4 people. It will be covered. All I need is 5 people, and not only is it covered, but I'll get my travel expenses done as well. And I just thought, God, do it. Just go for it. It's amazing. I'm sure 4 people are going to come, or 5 people are going to come. Lo and behold, first time, 5 people came. And it was phenomenal. And I'd have this big whiteboard where I'd be writing things, and we'd be writing things that we want to sort of let go of, and writing things that we want to sort of embody, into our being. And these were an amazing experience, and they sort of expanded and it changed over the years. But I remember those meditation evenings reaching up to 65 people. And this is what I'm saying. Yeah, it was full. And this is what I'm saying. Over the years, I mean, I would have done that even if I didn't get paid, right? Because I'm really passionate about it. I just really love doing it. You know what the knock-on effect was for that? People would come and attend, meet me, and then say, what else do you do? Well, I'm running a course next weekend. Can I have some details? Sure, here's a brochure. How can I book on? Well, here's how to book on. So that meditation evening, actually, which I absolutely love doing, which I do for free, was actually leading people into future courses and much deeper work, where I was able to hold space on a much deeper level. I was able to facilitate and guide people into some big shifts, life-changing, like a lot of life-changing shifts, huge. So, why I'm saying this is that I think it's also important to understand that your soul's purpose is doing something that you don't even want to get paid for. It's nothing to do with money. It's something that you just happily do. But you won't even believe the doors that will open when you do that, when you actually do that, when you jump in and say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I don't care what, but I just love doing it. And I ended up being one of the leading figures in the particular healing modality that I was teaching at the time. In the UK and in Europe, people were flying in from Africa, from India, from America to come and do my courses, even though there was courses in their own countries and continents. People were coming over, and it was just phenomenal because I was just passionate about what I was doing. There's many other teachers, but just passionate about what I was doing, and I attracted a lot. So you got to have a passion and do it, even if you aren't going to get paid. Just still do it. Really feel there's a strong energy there. Do something that even if you didn't get paid, you would still do it because you just love it. That's where it's at. It really is strong. Yeah.
Yeah, you talking about that, it actually reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend of mine last night, who's a counselor, and he does different things. And he was touching upon the fact that, this is someone who is very authentic, and he does things because he wants to make a difference. He doesn't care about the money, or he's not interested in fame or anything like that. And because of that, this shines through in how he presents himself, and he shows up before he needs to. And I think when you're coming from that place, everything else is kind of like a bonus, but it's not the main motivator. And then because there's often this whole thing of, how do you keep going, and how do you motivate yourself? And I think when someone is doing something because they really want to do it, no motivation is really needed. There might be times when someone can feel a bit down or something like that, but because they're connected to what they're doing, it's like with what I do, I don't really need anyone to motivate me and saying, come on, you better do this, because I'm doing it because it matters to me. And if it didn't, I wouldn't do it.
Absolutely. And and to add on to that as well, as a sort of like a branch off, our conversations are always going to be branches that sort of lead and intertwine. You talked about your father passing, this is kind of like what sort of brought us together, really.
Yeah.
Your father being ill many years ago, and then me helping in the way that I could. And years later, you suddenly emailing me out of the blue at the exact point, if not the exact day, where my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And I'm looking at this email thinking, wow, this is just crazy. I was working with you,
Absolutely.
working with your father when your father was had cancer, and now like 9 years later, suddenly out of the blue, after so much time, I get an email from you on the actual day, if not like a day after, that my father got diagnosed with multiple myeloma. What I was going to say here is that also in terms of your soul purpose, it's important to understand, you know, sometimes we have this feeling, especially when we're much younger, that there's just infinite amount of time. We're going to live forever, especially in our teens and 20s. It's just that life is going to go on forever. That suddenly starts getting quicker in the late 30s and 40s. It just starts getting really quicker. And when my father passed a few months ago, it's a really strange feeling that you suddenly have such a reminder, a very strong reminder, that this isn't going to go on forever. And there's a limited time here. And if you have a purpose and you know what your purpose is, just go out and do it. Just go out and do it. And for me, just to give an example, in relation to this, I've had in my mind this sort of, the academy that I want to teach, the diploma, the certificate course, and these things been on the back burner. The Spiritual Awakening Academy, the Luminary Academy, it's been on the back burner, and it's been sitting on a back burner for a while, and it will, if you just think, oh yeah, I'm going to do that next year, or I've got this thing, suddenly you're tied up in this and that. But once I had that experience of my father passing, it's kind of like, life's short, and I don't want to go forward regretting that I didn't do something that that I've got in my hands that really aligns me to my soul's purpose. Being a beacon of light. Channeling high end information, sharing it with others. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to channel high end information and share it like a beacon. And what better way than is to have an academy, teach people what you know, and send them out there, give them all the tools, even how to market themselves, even to sort of get over their blocks of being seen, and and doing their work anywhere around the world. That's really me extending my purpose. Training people up, and that was on a back burner for a long time, a long time. And as soon as my father passed, this energy came to me and said, you just got to do this, because life's too short, and this is where your talents are, this is where your gifts are, and this is really aligned to your purpose. Just do it, because you just don't know. We just don't know how long we have here, and which is why my academy is launched now. And people are signing on, and it's going to be a phenomenal ride. But why I'm saying this is not to have regrets. Not to carry on living with the thought that you should have done this, you should have done that, and you didn't do it. Not to have something where 5 or 10 years or 20 or 40 years down the line you think, oh, I should have done that, because it's not good living in regret. And if you got a talent and you got a gift, share it. Just share it. That's what it's all about. Nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Yeah, a very good point. I think, and I can relate to that as well. And I think it goes back into, again, there's a loss, and we can avoid the pain. And I think if we do that, and sometimes that's just where we're at, and we can't face it. That's what happened to me. I can face it instantly. It took me a little while later, but through facing it, when we do face it, whenever that is, then we can become aware of the information. So, for example, with you, Errol, if you'd have not been on this path and you'd have just covered everything up, you could have just carried on as if nothing had happened, and you wouldn't have had that urge to really dig in and to get things moving. I remember it was similar to me when my father passed on around that time, maybe a little bit after. I thought, right, what matters now? And as you're saying, it made me think, right, I'm not going to live forever because my father's just
Mhm.
passed on here. There was other people that had passed on before, but it wasn't the same. It didn't have the same impact. on me. So it's like it brings everything into perspective. What matters here? Less, these things are no longer worthy of my time. This is focus on this, and it's just boom, get it done, taking action step by step, mouthful by mouthful of the elephant there, and incremental action. Doesn't have to be anything too extreme, but small steps over a period of time can lead to huge progress being made.
Absolutely. And just really, really following, really following up, realizing that no, we don't have an infinite amount of time. And if you figured out if you figured out what your talents are and your gifts are, why hold them back from the world? There are people that will benefit from what you can say or do or give or offer. And there's the only person that's in the way from sort of sharing it would be us, would be ourselves, being in the way of, sharing our gifts with the world. And this goes into the next step. I mean, we've covered a few steps here already. What is it that you enjoy doing? What do you enjoy doing? What causes you to experience pain? Because that could be something that is an invitation into pursuing your soul's path, and your goals. And what would you do even if you were not getting paid? It's very important. And what would you regret not doing if if you didn't have long to live? What is it that you're here to do so that you don't sort of waste time? And this leads into the fifth thing. What does your heart call you to do? And are you listening? Are you listening to the heart saying, "This is what I want. This is what I want"? Or at least are you listening to the mind that's saying, "No, you can't do that. You're not gifted enough. You haven't done enough training. You need to do at least another 8 years or a master's in order to do that. This is the mind. The mind fixated on not being good enough. The mind fixated on a structure that you're going to do this training, and therefore, when you do the training, you go and do some work experience, and then you're going to go and work somewhere, and you're going to earn X amount to pay off the debt for what you just learned. There are people going out there just pursuing their bliss and making a fortune as a result, but not as the focus. As a result, making a fortune, but as the focus is just there, just absolutely love what they're doing. They're in the flow. As a result, money comes in, but it's not the focus, And this is the phenomenal thing, that abundance comes in when you're in the flow. You just get supplied. The universe just supplies when you're in the flow, and that you don't need or want for anything. And it's an important thing to put out there. What is your heart saying? Yeah. So what does your heart say, hey? What does your heart say on a day-to-day basis?
Well, just wanted to touch upon the last thing you saying about the sharing gifts with the world, and it's just I've got a bit of paper that's just kind of under my computer here, and on this bit of paper, I think it must have been about 2011, around that time, and I wrote down here, by not expressing myself, I'm hiding my gifts from the world, and that's something that's been on this bit of paper there for maybe 6 years, maybe a bit longer, but it's incredible just touching upon that.
Yeah. And it is very important to express yourself. Otherwise, it turns into this suppressed energy, which can then lash out into the world, lash out into your loved ones. It's very important to express yourself, or find a way to express yourself creatively. We could do this verbally, or through the hands, or through many different ways, but it's important to express what that is. Yeah. We've got a question here.
Yeah, I think this question touches into the last question that you put forward. It says, "Hi, what if you no longer know what you would love to do, even for free?" numb to any passion at present from Tanya?
Mm. I mean, firstly, I mean, it's a beautiful question. I would firstly, I get words jump out. When someone asks questions, the words will jump out. There'll be a word with a certain vibration that will jump. And the word that jumped out there was numb. And I would follow that. I would follow it to the point where I would understand that the numbness is a disconnection. There's some sort of disconnection or suppression gone on there. Even something as simple as focusing on the hand and really, really focusing on the hand, just imagining energy moving into the hand or moving in, around in circles in the hand or something where you're suddenly aware of the hand. What happens in this particular exercise is that you become aware of your hand, because you become aware of your own body. So it brings it to a very personal place. You're becoming aware of energy, so you're becoming aware of there's something that you can't see that's actually there, and you're actually feeling some presence there. So there's a multiple range of things happening here. You can feel the presence, you can feel energy, but you can't see it. But you're getting very connected with your hand. So you're getting a reconnection happening with your body. This in turn, when you start focusing on this and just imagine that energy going through your body, you're going to start reconnecting with your body in a different way, in a much different way, in a deeper way, in a subtle energy way, which I feel will start eradicating the numbness, because you're starting to have, on a base level, instead of reaching out there into the world, what do I want to do? What should I do? I don't know what it is I want to do. And sort of the mind is looking outwards to what I should be doing because I'm completely numb. Forget about that. Focus on your hand, get the reconnection back, feel the energy, feel something or see something you can't see, feel it running through your body, and start right back at the basics, right back at ABC. Get back in touch with your body, get back in touch with the energy and movement in your body, get back in touch with the presence, and start feeling your breath, start feeling that breath, that presence, that energy, and start connecting in that way and see what expands. Just see what happens. Because what's happening is the mind is going out there, so like a singular focus. I don't know what it is I want to be doing. I'm trying to look for it. I'm trying to see it, but I can't get it. And the mind is just out there. And while the mind's out there, there's a disconnection happening for what's happening within you right now. And that's the most important thing. Start off with the basics. Get back into touch with your body, back into touch with your breath, into the presence. Feel that running through you, and just really just practice that. And from that point, move forward into setting an intention for pursuing what it is that you love, and just watch how something unfolds. Don't look for it. Don't seek it with the mind. Just allow it to happen. Just allow it to happen organically. Because perhaps what's been happening in the past is a mental level direction or choice in the things that you've done and pursued. And perhaps in your evolution as a human being, because we go through different things at different ages, perhaps what's happening right now in this age, at this stage in your life, it's taking you away from working it out mentally and inviting you to go into a much deeper level, a more subtle energy level where you're really in touch with yourself on a different level, on a different way. Rather than working it out up there, it's like it's begging, inviting you to go in, really connect in with who you are, and let that start rolling out, and let it happen in a different way. Because how we usually do things is we say, okay, I've got an idea, I think I'd be interested in that. Where can I get the training? Who does the training cheaper? Or or where is it more convenient? Or that's not going to take me away from doing this. Or my circumstances are as such that I've got a full-time job or a part-time job, or I have a child, or whatever it is. And so the mind is like calculating everything and finds it. Whereas this numbing may be on purpose. It's almost as if the soul or the body has numbed itself down in order for you to get out of the logic mind and go into the subtle energies and let your true self start guiding you into a much different place, which could be different. to what you've been doing before. And that's beautiful. It's beautiful that it could be different, but don't try and work it out with the mind. That's what I would say in answer to that question. I mean, over to Oliver to give your take on the question.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. I think this is it. It's a bit like when you're talking about that, I just saw like this small animal in a garden that's kind of scared, it's in fear, it's gone all quiet, and it's kind of hunched over. And then it's like walking over, and there's no communication with the animals. It's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then it's like, right, let's walk over to the animal. Let's just be with the animal. Let's see what's going on. Let's form a relationship with the animal, which is kind of like our body and our heart. Let's just be with it. Because
Yeah.
when we are not in tune with our body, and I can relate to all this myself, because before I was writing and doing any of the creative work that I do now, I had no idea. And it really used to get me down. And I was always looking out here. All my friends were going to university, or they were doing this kind of job and that. And I thought that's not it. And I couldn't really connect to anything they were doing. But I've got to do something, got to do something. And it's all this pressure, and it's all, again, looking outside, looking for that direct path. So I do this, I do that, and then I get to that. And what I found is that it's not really like that. But what I did from that moment, I just went with whatever came up. So I got an inspiration to do this, or that came up, and I just went with it. And through just going with that, then I suppose it's a bit like mining for gold. You keep shaking it, you keep shaking it, you keep shaking the pan or whatever they use, and then you find the gold. And I think it's like that, because if like with this person is a numbness, then it can take a while to get back in. And once she is gradually back in touch with herself, then everything will just flow, and a lot of the stress will go, because there's that connection. But I think in the beginning, it's just a case of, as you're saying, being with it, and just allowing ourselves to be with that part and to see what comes up. And if we get some inspiration or an idea, let's just go with that.
Absolutely, really. I hope you've this has answered your question. I really do. And if not, let us know, and we can expand on it a little bit more. But we really hope that that's answered. I really value what Oliver said there, and it's really is important to look at things in a different way, to really. Another way of putting this is, if you're still thinking at the age of 40 how you were thinking at the age of 20, you haven't evolved. You haven't evolved. We've got to think and look at things in a much different way, like a really different way. We grow, and we sometimes we hold on to the past, hold on to how we were thinking in the past, how we formulated things, but we really do grow. We expand and grow. So it's really important to understand that life changes, we change, and we've got to move with it. We really have got to move with it. Otherwise, we get stuck in the past. Yeah, we get stuck in the past. I have quite a few friends that they reach their sort of late 20s, or they're in their 30s or mid 30s, and quite often these are friends that are in the States. Suddenly they reach this point where they really suddenly feel the desire to go back into higher education again. So they find a course, and then they commit to another 3 or 4 years. And one way of looking at this is if they're going to go back into training, and as a result of the training, because of the training, they're now going to get another opportunity with work. Sometimes I feel this is like replugging into the matrix again. It's like you've plugged in, came out, tried your luck, perhaps hasn't worked out, plug right back in again on another deeper level and get into even more debt. And I feel that life is an opportunity to take risks and chances as well. The most phenomenal things have happened to me when I've taken risks and chances. Most phenomenal. And I feel that there's a scene in a film called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, I believe. Sean Connery's in it. Sean Connery plays Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford's father. And he's in this room on this other side of this sort of like abyss. There's this like crack that goes all the way down. You can't even see the end of it. And Harrison Ford, the son, needs to go over this abyss to reach the father, to save him. And he has to dig deep, and he has to really dig deep. And so he puts his hand on his heart center, takes a deep breath, and goes into a state of absolute faith, complete faith and trust. He just trusts, and just there's faith and trust right there. And he puts the foot out, knowing that he's going to go right into the abyss. He puts the foot out, and the foot suddenly lands on an invisible stone. And he's shocked because, by all means, he should fall. And then suddenly he puts his other foot out, and there's another stone. And lo and behold, there it is. You have faith, you trust, and the universe just does the rest. But if you half trust and half faith, you're going to fall a bit. The universe will just match your vibration. But if you have full belief in yourself or the universe, and you have absolute faith and trust in, what it is that you're pursuing or that you have a vision about, man, that pathway is already made. However deep the ravine is, that pathway is already made and you're supported. But if you're doubting yourself, self-doubt, and you don't believe and you don't feel that you belong or you're supported, it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot out of you. Yeah. So I believe that following your soul's purpose also requires faith, also requires belief. What do you say, Oliver?
Yeah, I would agree, and especially if someone is doing something a bit different. I mean, if they're walking a more, the trodden path and not the road less traveled, good book that. If they're doing something a bit more kind of normal, but then it can seem as though everything is just laid out and everything is going to be easy, and it can often be not very fulfilling, especially if someone is not doing something that's very much true to them. But absolutely, when there's got to be the faith to take the first step,
Yeah.
because if there is no trust or belief, just like in you're talking about the film there, if there's none of that, then it's easy not to take the first step, because who knows what will happen here in our head, needing to see, what's that quote about, you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. I mean, it's kind
Yes.
of,
Martin Luther King.
yeah, it's kind
Take
of
the
like
first
that,
step.
isn't it?
Yeah, take the first step. You don't need to see the whole ladder, the whole path, the whole journey. Just take the first step, and it really is that true. Just take the first step. So
Yeah, I mean,
with finding your soul's purpose, and like we've mentioned today, it really is about like with the 5 steps that we've gone into. What do you enjoy doing? What are you passionate about? Following your bliss, or even so, what causes you pain? Because by looking into that, some inspiration can come. Something can come from something perceived to be bad. Something very good can come. And what would you do even if you were not being paid? What is that passion that drives you so strongly that even if you were not paid, you'll still be doing it? And what would you regret if you not doing, if you didn't have long to live, or if you look back in life and think, oh, if only I did that, and then the last step, the 5th step, is what is it your heart's calling you to do? Just stepping up, really stepping up, and allowing your heart's calling. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. What I wanted to touch upon, you're speaking about having a few friends that kind of, or they went back into the system and to university again, and I think it's easy to see how that can be another way to enslave ourselves, to get ourselves back into that limited thinking of the system, and everything has to be done this way. Very much a creation of the mind. Everything's it's got to be done this way. There's only one way, and you can't do that because you won't get here. And it's very linear and it's very restrictive.
Yep.
Whereas when so many people who are doing what they enjoy doing, very rarely have they followed the direct path. They've been doing all kinds of different things, and it's almost as if they just happened to
Yeah.
be doing what they actually enjoy doing. So it can be, even if someone, I suppose what it comes down to is that even if someone thinks that they are on the wrong path and they don't know what's going on, they're actually, before they know it, because they are actually, this is all part of it. If I hadn't have been, supposedly lost back then, I wouldn't be where I am now. So it can, it's as if they could see the whole path at that point in time, they would say, actually, I'm not lost. I'm not going somewhere else. I'm actually going where I need to be, but my mind can't see it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what fun would it be if we could see the whole path? If it was just always there, we'd be, a lot of the time, be like,
Mind-boggling,
oh,
wouldn't it?
I can see it's all there. I'm just going to stay at home today. I'm not going to do it. So it's designed in that way as well, where we'd look back and realize, like, oh, that's why all that happened. That's why that challenge happened, because it gave me the strength and the gift for this, and it goes on. So it's a beautiful thing, very beautiful thing. So if anyone has any sort of last minute quick questions, please do so. Please write them down in the message area, or click on ask a question and write that question there. We're happy to have a very quick Q&A to answer everything, and
Send them in.
send them in. In the meantime, I just want to just very briefly talk just a little bit about the academy that I have, the online academy that I'm really, really passionate about. It really is part of my soul's purpose, and something I'm very much aligned to. And enrollment has opened. It's by application only. And I'm really looking forward to personally guiding and mentoring a group at the end of summer. We were going to move together through 14 different modules of amazing techniques and processes, the things that I've learned over this huge period of my life that I've devoted my time to learn how to help people. And then in these 14 modules together, there's so many beautiful techniques and processes in so many different ways that when accumulated together, you'll be receiving an intuitive coaching certificate, a spiritual counseling diploma, and a sort of guidance facilitator certificate as well, which will enable you to create circles and groups and really help people in different ways, whether it's one-on-one or with groups. So if you're interested in that, click on the Academy button, and more than happy to set up a call, a free call, just to so we can touch base and I can see if this is a fit for you, because we're really looking for a very strong group dynamic with people that are going to be actively contributing to help each other and support each other on this phenomenal journey. It's a journey of self-transformation, and it's a journey of learning how to empower or to help empower others as well. So just wanted to share that while we're waiting for any questions to come through. But none have, so I'm just going to pass on over to Oliver just to share anything you'd like to share about your work.
Yeah, when you're speaking about this incredible course that you've been putting together and saying how you've kind of held back, and after your father passed on, you really got that to really push on with it. And it's kind of like, it's like part of you has been caged in, and now you're letting out this caged animal. It's going to explode, and it's coming out. It's head down. It's driving forward, and now you're unleashing all this incredible, powerful content. And I think it's going to make a huge difference in people's lives. because of sin. Just through working with you, how thorough you are with all your work and everything you put together.
Thank you. Thank you for those words. Thank you very much, Oliver.
And I don't say that lightly.
Thank you so much.
So,
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I also like to share with the viewers that you have some pretty phenomenal books out there that are out there to help people, really help people.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm sure you'll put a link up there at the end of the call for people to sort of follow your work as well. It's some
yeah,
phenomenal titles
absolutely. Yeah,
in the 16
yeah, 16 books. I've
authored.
got a number of different kinds of books in the works. One is about how to heal the inner child, and one is about how to develop self-awareness and how to heal
Beautiful.
ourselves in the process. So these are kind of like the second wave, the second tier, the next level of
Good.
my work,
Good.
so people can have the tools themselves to heal themselves and to move forward. Because I think that's what it's about, empowering people so they can really take charge of their own healing and their own direction in life.
Beautiful. So put a link up so people
Yeah.
can follow that, and it's be an amazing thing. And I think without further ado, there's no questions coming through for the rest of the evening. So I'd like to thank Tanya for the one question that did come through today, and also like to thank you, Oliver, for taking time out of your day and for sharing so beautifully. And really, really appreciate these hours that we have together each week.
Big time. Words are not enough. Definitely
No,
thoroughly enjoy doing these calls and speaking to you, Errol, and hopefully to make a difference to the people that listen
absolutely,
to this call now and the people that will listen to it afterwards, because that is the purpose. It's about the people listening.
definitely, absolutely. So without further ado, I feel that we're going to bring our evening to a close. They always go so quickly.
Yeah,
Could go on for hours. But yeah, thank you so much for everyone that attended, everyone that's going to attend, everyone that's sort of registered and are listening at another time because of their time zone or other commitments. I really appreciate that you're spending your time here listening as well. So without further ado, huge thank you from me for Oliver and for all the viewers and for taking this time out to really tune in and listen.
yeah. Thank you from me as well. Thank you, Errol, and good night, good morning, good afternoon to the people who are listening to this, because I know there's different time zones, as you've just said. Thank you very much. And we will talk to you again next week.
Okay. I look forward to next week. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.
Namaste. Bye bye. Bye bye.